Alright, we're down to the last bit of stuff now. What's next? I want to end this love game. I've seen this manga getting advertised a fuck ton over the past year. Uh, doesn't seem like something that would interest me, but that means nothing for this show, so let's give it a go. Have you ever been watching Kaguya-sama and thought, wow, this is really good, but I wish the premise for why they wouldn't confess to each other was 100 times stupider? That's this show. I want to end this love game. Fucking is so stupid. Like, again, I normally don't go hard on like the premise of something being stupid because like I think you can do pretty much anything with that. I think pretty much any premise, so long as it's not thematically bad, can work. But this is fucking stupid. So the conceit behind this show is it's like Kaguya in the sense of like the two characters are obviously in love with each other, but there is something with internally in a sense of stubbornness that is keeping them from confessing to the other person. In Kaguya-sama, it was because it was a hyper extreme borderline satirical take on relationships in which they both of them believed that love was literally war, like a battleground to be won. And like the mere concept of a relationship is that. And there's a lot of class dynamics and gender dynamics that play into that as well. In this show, these two characters make up a game called the Love Game, where they say I love you to each other in the hopes that they can get the other person to blush or admit that they're embarrassed. What? And yes, it is just as stupid in its execution as it sounds. Like, seeing them do this does not make it feel any more interesting or believable or intriguing. It's just stupid. It's fucking sucks. And you know what? The visuals are kind of all over the place. Like the opening shots, it actually goes out of its way to have like an interesting cityscape instead of just like a grid pattern street. Like there's a lot of curves and bends to some of the roads, so I was like, okay, this is at least an interesting city to look at. But also there's some really bad compositing issues at some point. Character designs are attractive but not super interesting. Oh, there was a thing where the main guy talked about getting a haircut to look cooler, and I looked at it and I was like, wait, does that look different from before? I couldn't exactly picture what it looked like in the flashback ones, but it didn't look that different. So, like, weird to bring it up, I guess? It's a little too, washed out for my liking as well. This one tends to be a little bit more washed out in terms of the color palette. Not washed out, like there's like imagine like a soft white, which is the light bulb I have up here. You probably can't tell on camera, but you know what the difference is like between soft white and daylight bulbs. Like most anime tend to have more of the soft white approach. There's a little bit of like color to things. This one's closer to like daylight bulb approach, where it's a lot more white, a lot starker, and I'm not a huge fan of that aesthetic. It could work, but you've got to be really good at it, and this show is just kind of mediocre at it, so fuck you. Okay, yep, we're not gonna try any more of that. Love Game, off the list. Next, we have Marriagetoxin. This is manga or anime number 4 out of 5 where I have read and then dropped the manga at some point. This is a Bones series, and I know from my experience with the manga that it's got a fuck ton of action in it. So it's been if you don't, not counting the My Hero coda, well, I guess that, and then the last season of My Hero were the last time we got a Bones action series, but it's... Oh, and then we had Gachi Akuta before that. Actually, yeah, we've been spoiled for Bones action stuff as of late. So as we sometimes it comes in waves sometimes. Yes, Bones action good. I hope they do something really good with this manga. Let's give it a go. Okay, I think I feel mostly the same way about the anime as I do about the manga, which is, I don't think either a compliment or a criticism. Really, little of both. Could be both. Why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos? I finished up Marriagetoxin, which leaves off at the end, right at the end of the Beastmaster arc. I actually went to compare this to the manga to see where I left off, and apparently I had gotten through the next arc after this, I think. So, yes, I have seen all the stuff that Season 1 covers at a fairly blistering pace, by the way. Like, this... For reference, this anime, which is 13 episodes, covers 48 chapters of the manga. So almost 4 chapters to 1 episode. And it's even more intense in the back half, because I actually checked, like, periodically throughout it. By episode, like, 8, it had only covered 24 chapters. So, like, the back 5, it's like episode 7 or 8 or something. So, like, the last 5 or 6 episodes cover 24 chapters of content. Now, granted, a lot of it's fighting, but that's still really fast. And I know it most manifests in the early episodes, I think. Because, like, I could tell even from the first episode, I was like, this is moving really fast. And I knew, I vaguely remembered where the first chapter left off, so I knew that they put 2 chapters in the first episode, which is fairly weird, considering that the first chapter of Marriagetoxin is like over 60 pages. So then they added another like 24 page chapter on top of that. The point is, it's a lot of this feels rushed. I do think it gets a little bit more of a solid handle on it in the back half of the series, but especially in these first couple arcs, or the first like half of the series, it feels a little bit rushed in the sense of there's not a lot of time for stuff to breathe. Like, it's not necessarily skipping anything. I don't really think it skipped over anything as far as I can remember. It's just going through those things so quickly that a lot of it does not have the emotional weight that it needs for you to really latch on to what's happening. Like, mechanically, the narrative is good. Like, there's a lot going on in theory that works here. Like, the character motivations make sense. The cause and effect relationships make sense. The mildly tragic backstories make sense in relation to how their characters function in the present day, what their aspirations are, the relationships between different characters. Everything makes sense on paper, but it feels often a little bit too, not necessarily too mechanical, but not organic enough, if that makes any sense. The bones are there. Bones, the studio, get it? The bones of a great narrative are there, but it doesn't have that extra spice around it that would really make you go like, oh, this is a series that I'm going to remember for a while. The things that could be that are there, like the marriage counseling thing is there. We have our secondary protagonist is a cross-dresser, who, again, I've only read like 7 volumes of the manga, so as far as I know, Kinosaki still only identifies as a boy, so I'm just going to go with that. Could be different later in the manga, I don't know. Would be cool. Or not. I honestly, I just want them to do more with him, because, like, even, like, the reveal in the first episode of, like, oh, I'm just, like, a boy cross-dressing as a girl so that I can swindle people into fake marriages. Like, that felt like it went by way too quick, and they don't really do a lot with him. Like, he's in the same, like, women's clothes almost the entire time. We don't really see him, like, do, like, because he says he says he swindles people of both genders, and we see like some like bad images of him in like male coded clothing. So like, I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting if we had him swap back and forth. But I think, and I'm not gonna get into theories on why he just, other than like maybe the author just really wanted to draw a character that looked really cute in feminine coded clothing, but he's a cross-dresser. I just wish there was more there. Much like the series as a whole, I wish there was more there. Because, like, if I recall from the manga, like, even Kinosaki's, like, motivation, the sick younger brother, that had a little bit more meat to it, if I recall, than it does in the anime. The anime is just sort of like, I have a sick younger brother, and that's why I'm doing this. And then it moves on. And then it's like, oh, thank you for paying for my little brother's surgery. He's all fixed. Moving on. And that's how a lot of this feels. It's just sort of like, doing this, moving on. Doing this, moving on. Next arc, next thing. And it just keeps going like that without any weight behind any of it. Now, granted, I made it all the way to the end of the series. So there is something there, but that something is mostly the fact that it's just a really good-looking action series. Like, I don't know. Honestly, most of the action series this season have been pretty disappointing. Like, Kill Blue was fine. Wistoria was disappointing, but still good. And this is a bones-ass action show. Like, I will say, though, there is something about Studio Bones' action anime that makes you go like, oh, right, Bones. They are the kings of action anime for a reason. Some would dispute that title, probably, especially nowadays. Before people would dispute that title with Madhouse, now I think people would dispute that title with Mappa or Wit. But I still think Bones is the king. Bones still has Yutaka Nakamura. And I was going through the whole series. I was like, was that a Nakamura cut? It might have been. It might not have been. I'm not sure. And then we got to the second to the last episode. I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. You'll know it when you see it. You'll know it. But even aside from the greatest action animator of all time, the action is really, really solid in this. Although I will say, I don't know what it is. Maybe it might be the color design, it might be the lighting, it might be the staging of everything, it might be a combination of all three, it might be a secret fourth thing. But sometimes the action feels just a little bit cluttered. Just a little. Just a little cluttered. Not too much, but like... I don't know if the fact that the action in this isn't quite as memorable is because the action isn't as good, or because the narrative is mostly just kind of bland. I really think it's the latter. Because there are still some really damn fucking good fights in this. Like the fight against the Soundmaster, all of those fights were really good. Those action cuts were really good. Aside from the brief wafts of CG during all the beast fights and such, all the fights in that were really good. Yeah, I think, if I recall correctly, I think they really don't get into heavy CG use for anything until the Beastmaster arc. And unfortunately, it's very noticeable. The bear suit is really noticeable. The Hyako beast is very noticeable. So that's a little disappointing. But everything around it looks really cool. Although I will say I don't think the character designs are that good. It's not that they're not good. It's just that they're not great. Does that make sense? They are perfectly fine and serviceable and extremely forgettable. Like, I'm going to forget what most of these characters look like in a few weeks. And what they act like, because a lot of them are, again, not that interesting. Especially the villains. The villains kinda suck. Most of them are bad. And the ones that aren't bad are just kind of average. These are all D to C tier shonen villains. They are not putting out their best stuff. Maybe some of the later arcs will have it, because we got a preview of the actual head of the Beast clan, of the Beastmaster clan in this, and she looks interesting. But that will be for later, probably. Yeah, I guess that's really all the bulk of what I have to say is the recipe for a really strong action series is here. But you can't just have the strong action to make it a strong action series. you need the chunk. You need the. What am I saying? You need the meat and potatoes of it. You need strong pacing with moments that allow the characterization and the character development to breathe. Because I do like the power system for all this. It's very supernatural power system, but not really. It's like assassins and all of that, but it's basically just a supernatural power series, superpower series. And the powers are varied enough to to keep the fights interesting on that level, aside from just the raw action. So there's something there. Maybe the season 2 will draw it out, because it already got announced for season 2. I don't know when that's coming out, but I'll tune into it to see if something, if they're able to draw something stronger out of this series, because right now it's fine, but kind of forgettable. Okay, Marriagetoxin is complete, but we're really not going to go that far up on the list. We're going to put you right under Always a Catch in the number 28 spot with a decent 6. Still a decent action series, but really that's all it is, I guess. Maybe season 2 will bring some more juice to it. Who knows? In any case, next we got our last 5 anime for this season, starting with Eren the Southpaw. Haven't heard anyone talk about this. Southpaw makes me think baseball, so I'm guessing it's a sports series. Let's jump into it. I got a complaint for the localization team. This one's not about baseball. So the Japanese title for this is Hidarikiki no Eren, which just means left-handed Eren. But the localizers, or maybe the Japanese companies, somebody decided that this show should be called Eren the Southpaw. Have any of you ever heard the term southpaw outside of baseball? Like, outside of the context of a left-handed pitcher. Have you ever heard the term southpaw? Or the White Sox mascot, also. But, it's a baseball term. That's what I'm getting at. Southpaw is a baseball term. As far as I know, I have literally never heard the term southpaw used outside of baseball. This show's about graffiti. What? And also, like, as far as I know, what hand you use in art, especially art that's not you directly holding a pencil or a brush or anything, not super influenced by what hand you're holding. Now again, I'm right-handed, so who knows? Maybe I'm just talking shit, but it means a lot more. Being left-handed means a lot more in baseball because of the sport and the angle and trajectory of the ball and just the alignment of everything. Anyway, this show's kind of boring. Well, actually, it's half boring, half nonsensical. Like, some of the characters just are so flat and boring and uninteresting. And then the titular character is, boy, she's something. Like, she's very fascinated by art. And, like, she sees a poster for, like, an up-and-coming artists competition. And she gets so angry that she takes the spray paint that her boss gave her and just starts graffitiing over all of the art in a fucking ballistic rage. Why? What? God, this is weird and this... I don't... What? I don't get it. Because if that's her reaction to just seeing mediocre art, ma'am, I got some bad news for you about the world. So yeah, and also it's not a particularly great looking show. Some of the shots are nice, and it's certainly trying. It's certainly trying to have a look to it. Especially with the color direction and how high contrast some of the color design is. But the character designs are pretty basic and not interesting, and it's shot fine, but not especially well. And if this is going to be a show about art, even if it's just graffiti or graphic design as the actual main character is doing, potentially, I would hope for a little bit more oomph from, the art. So yeah, this one's just kind of weird. I still can't believe you would use the term Southpaw for something that's not sports related. That's so stupid. Eren the Southpaw, off the list. Next, the Ramparts of Ice. I know nothing about this except for the fact that it is from the same author as You and I Are Polar Opposites, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But this one, I think, is also being done by Studio Kai, who has been a little hit and miss lately, but has still put out some bangers in the past. So let's see what they do with this. Alright, one more unexpected finish for the road. I think that makes 4 for this season, so a lot of surprises that justify me doing this entire series. Just finished up the Ramparts of Ice, which is a very solid rom-com, love polygon kind of thing that for some reason very much strikes me in the same vein as something like Horimiya. It's not plot-wise, and like in terms of what happens, it's not really like that. But also, it just kind of feels like that. But also, this is definitely one that I would not have checked out at all if I was just picking and choosing stuff to watch for seasonals. A, because it's a Netflix series, and it's just a pain in the ass because I'm not going to pay for fucking Netflix. Netflix jail, still a very real thing, because I did not see... I saw like one person talk about this. Although I think a lot of the people I follow on social media just don't post about seasonals anymore. I need to find people who post about seasonals while the seasonals are airing. So if you have any suggestions on people who are like cool or at least just fun to follow in that department, let me know. But also, B, I would never have picked this up because this is from... The manga is based... It's based on a manga by the same author as You and I Are Polar Opposites, which you'll remember from last season's seasonal wrap-up show. I don't like. I don't like the manga either, and so I would have had no inclination towards watching this at all, and yet I ended up very much liking it. Speaking of that author whose name I forget, I wonder if I can briefly Is it on my shelf somewhere? I cannot see it off the top of my head. It should be. Oh, it's covered up by. See, I need new shelves, or I need a new shelf for my manga. I have very much run out of space, but also I'm running out of space for shelves, so that's also a problem. We'll get there when we get there. But anyway, this author's chibi like comedic break style. You know what I mean, when like they do the comedic cutaways to like chibi character models. His chibi designs are very, very simplistic in certain ways, especially with like the facial features, and even I guess the base character models can be a little bit simplistic compared to typical anime designs. Not by a huge amount, but a little bit. And in Polar Opposites, both the manga and the anime, that was a big turnoff for me. I did not think the character designs were very strong. Here, however, I think the base character models are a lot stronger because this is a little bit more serious of a show. It's still a rom-com, it's still a comedy, but it has so much more dramatic moments, and so the dorkiness of the character designs isn't as pronounced in the base models, but also that provides stronger contrast for when we switch over to the chibi cutaways. And so like the effect is a little stronger, and so like the more simplified cartoony chibi stuff works a little better there instead of in like Polar Opposites where it's just like a basic zany character model and then zany chibi character model, whereas like with this one it's like these are like more traditional modern rom-com anime high school designs, and then you cut to the cartoony chibi stuff, and so there's like that big comedic gap there in quality that really works. And also I think this one is just better produced in general. Again, maybe it's just because there are more serious moments in it, and so it has more room to shine in terms of like lighting and color and framing and stuff like that. But it pulls it off. This is a Studio Kai project. Studio Kai's been real hit and miss lately, but I think they did. Last season though they did what was it? Sentenced to be a Hero. I think that was Studio Kai. And so they've had two really solid productions back to back. This one's not anywhere close to that level, but it's still really damn solid. The character designs are very cute. Koyumi, our main girl, our main character is extremely cute. Reminds me a little bit of Miko from Kaguya-sama. Just short girl. That is the archetype, but also yeah, just very cute. All of the character designs are very pleasant to look at, and again, very strong lighting and color choices. There's a lot of beige and to this in a way that's a little similar to what's that show? The other Netflix rom-com from a little while back. Fragrant Flowers Blooms with Dignity, I think. I think it's a little. This one is a little bit of a warmer color palette compared to the. You know what this looks like a little bit? Fucking Tanaka-kun is Always Listless. What's the fucking that Slice of Life series from like 2016? Tanaka-kun, I think. It's like that, but also still a little bit warmer, so like the emotions in this one really shine through. You really get that warm and bubbly feeling from the art direction in this one, but also the incredibly icy moments of tension and just the negative emotions that bubble up in this, because there's a lot of negativity that our characters have to work through. Koyun in particular having to work over her past trauma of just the many different wrong things that went wrong in her middle school years, whether it's bullying or bullying because of her height, or bullying because she was cozy, because the wrong guy had a crush on her, or just general friendship relationship issues that ultimately resulted in her putting up this ice wall around her, which I think is like episode 2 or 3. We got a pseudo title drop of sorts where it's like the ramparts, like I think a rampart is like a balcony or something like that. I actually don't know. This is why I keep my phone with me now for these recordings. A rampart. Oh, it's sort of like a... Oh, okay. It's sort of like a defensive wall of sorts. So yes, yes, so the title is... Good title for this one, both in terms of like the strikingness of the unique wording, and also it's the symbology of it, of Koyun putting up this rampart of ice, this emotional rampart between her and everyone around her, with the exception of her childhood friend Miki, and just basically not wanting to get close to anyone because she has just been burned so badly by people in the past. But over the course of this series, we see her gradually opening up more to people who just casually stumble into her life. The rampart imagery is really solid. The ice walls are very well rendered. The color design and the shading of the darkness and stuff that is used in those segments is very solid. And also there's some like abstract imagery that I really like as well. There's like this one thing where you sort of see like a pseudo X-ray shot of like the character model, and you just see these squiggles like rising up from the pit, from like a character's stomach up into like their throat, and it gets like caught in their throat. Really good imagery there. Yeah, this is very fun. What I really liked in like the back third of this series is I like the imperfections that are built into a lot of the characters. Like Koyun in particular, I really liked that she wasn't like this perfect victim kind of character. Like, on the one hand, like, yes, she is all constantly being hypocritical about things and then realizing that she's hypocritical about things, but also in her backstory of sorts, we get like a little bit of like nastiness from her. Like this in the, like, there's a guy that's very obviously crushing on her and she has no interest in this guy whatsoever, but because this one girl who's bullying her also has a crush on that guy, Koyun is just sort of like, sure, let's go out. Why not? And it leads to a very darkly satisfying moment for the character that was for her, in that the character that was bullying her made a fool of herself in front of the guy. Still a bad thing to do, and it ends up basically Koyun ends up scarring herself as of sorts because of the bad thing, the way that she treated the guy in that scenario. But I like that depth to her character of this sort of like, I have done things that are legitimately very mean and harmful to other people for my own satisfaction. I don't like that part of myself, and now I'm trying to work through it, but that part does exist. And I like that because we don't really get a lot of stuff like that from the characters that are ostensibly the good guys in these scenarios. I like that we got a little bit of that edge to her. So that was fun. Also, the character that's very likely going to turn into her love interest, Amamiya. I like that he also starts off as just kind of not gonna say he's not a bad guy, but the way that he approaches social situations is very kind of manipulative and immediately gets under Koyun's skin of his mindset of just like, all right, well, you just got to find the right key to unlock the locks that people put up around themselves in order to allow them to bloom in these social situations. And Koyun sort of clocks what he is fairly early on and is just like, kind of like a absolutely not get away from me. And so that sort of jump starts a little thing in him of like, huh, have I been kind of a prick? Not necessarily that, but like, huh, have I been doing this wrong? And that eventually leads to him catching feels for Koyun. And then in the back third, we introduce another character who is very obviously just a manipulative bitch and is trying to insert herself between them so that she can get with Amamiya, and is just constantly causing problems, but in like a very peppy, energetic kind of way. So a lot of great characters in this, and a lot of great character chemistry in this. I love this idea of like a boy and a girl just having a really good friendship, and people constantly mistaking that for them being in love with each other, like with Koyun and Yota, this very tall guy who I kind of fell for it as well. Like the initial, I was like, oh, he's going to be the love interest for Koyun in this. But no, they just get along really well, don't have any emotional attachment or romantic attachments to each other whatsoever. In fact, Yota is in love with Miki, Koyun's friend, and Koyun, not until the very end of the series, starts developing feelings for Amamiya. So it's just sort of like them constantly trying to help each other out, but them doing that also causes other people to mistake them for being a couple and thinking that they look good together. So I like that. That comes up like all the time. Made me think of a lot of people that I knew in high school that were like that, where it was like, oh, it's a guy and a girl who just get along really fucking well, but no, they don't really have any interest in dating each other at all. So, like, it's important to bring up, in a very natural fashion like that, I'm thinking of the fucking, what was that show? Can a guy girl friendship survive? Whatever the fuck. That show sucked, but it makes me think of that, and this being like the opposite better answer to that of just sort of like, yeah, a guy and a girl can just sort of be friends with each other and be really close and talk and have really good chemistry with each other, and also just not have any romantic interest in each other whatsoever, because they have other people that they are much more interested in. Or even just like, even if they didn't have other romantic interests, like Koyun doesn't have any romantic interest at the start of this, and it's not until later in the series that she does, and so it's just sort of like, oh, yeah, they're just kind of friends. So, yes, very much liked this show, very much liked the arcs, multiple arcs Koyun goes through of like taking down her walls and learning how to understand people a little better, how to not be so standoffish. Season 2 is coming in the fall season, if I recall correctly. So, and I think this is the manga's only 11 volumes. I don't know how much this anime covered. It didn't move at a super brisk pace, but it wasn't exasperatingly slow either. So, I don't know how many seasons this would get. At most, I could see this getting 3 seasons. But maybe it'll wrap up in the second season. Who knows? A lot of people complained about Horimiya cutting content for its single main season, but I thought that was still really fucking good. So if it's missing content here, as long as it's not cutting the stuff that makes these characters great, I'm fine with that. But I guess we'll have to wait till the fall season. For now, damn good rom-com.
Okay. Ramparts of Ice is complete. And we're going to go fairly high up on the list. We're going to put you in the number 9 spot with a decent 8. Definitely one of the stronger showings from this season that I was also very surprised by. Good stuff. Okay, we only got a few more entries now, I think. So, Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Wedge of Interposition. This is one of 2 IBO things on the list. This is just like a short, some kind of web short, I think, or something, or maybe it played in theaters as like a short before the Urdr Hunt movie. I don't know anything about it, but let's see what it's about.
Alright, that was pretty decent. Finished up Mobile Suit Gundam IBO Wedge of Interposition, which is like a 10th anniversary short film that was paired with the Urdr Hunt compilation movie, which we'll get to right after this, probably. But this one is just sort of like a short little, like, OVA that just sort of slots in, I think, somewhere in Season 2, maybe? To be fair, it's been probably almost 10 years since I watched anything from IBO, so, my memory's a little hazy on some details, when certain characters are introduced and when certain characters are dead. But this was just a nice little OVA with a kind of a little bit of everything in it. We get a little bit of action right at the front, a little bit of Teketsu being dumb kids scrapping together a formidable organization. The bit about Orga practicing his signature was pretty funny. And also, like, I like that they used this opportunity to be like, hey, where did Orga get his suit from? And that's how this OVA shows how that came about. And I was like, oh, that's like a fun little detail. Like, he's constantly walking around in clothes that are torn up. He literally has a hole in the ass of his pants. So the guys are like, let's buy him a suit. Let's get this guy a suit and get him looking nice. yeah, this was fun. Very much on the nose with a lot of things, but that's kind of how, if I recall, that's kind of how IBO was. I do really wonder sometimes if my opinions on IBO will change significantly if I rewatch it. Probably, because I have it rated really, really highly right now. Up until I watched Unicorn, like, a few months ago, it was my favorite Gundam series. It's still in my top 20 anime, at the very least top 25, but I think it's top 20. And it was the first Gundam series I ever finished. So it's very special to me, and I still remember it being really, really fucking good. I guess the only noteworthy thing is I don't think Mari Okada's attached to these projects anymore. To be fair, I didn't see any staff listed for this short film, so I don't know who worked on it. I know Mari Okada's not attached to the Urdr Hunt movie thing or whatever. So it'll disappointing that she's not part of this anymore, but you know what? She's been doing a whole lot of other things, so good for her. I don't think I need to say good for her about fucking Mari Okada. But yeah, if you really liked IBO, this is just a fun little OVA, basically. And it's only like half the length of an episode. So you can just slot that in just watch it. It's good. The animation's not... Well, again, I don't remember exactly how good the animation for IBO was, but I remember it being really damn good. And this one, it's pretty solid for an anniversary project. It's pretty solid. The fight at the beginning was pretty decent, and it doesn't move a lot after that, but the character designs are really good. It's nice and polished. Yeah, it's just a nice little IBO side story. And I love IBO, so that's good.
Okay, fun little IBO short complete. And where do I want to put you? Not too far up the list. Yeah, I'm going to put you right here in the number 26 spot with a strong 6. Just a fun little short. Is good. Okay. Next. Second to last show on the list. Gundam IBO Urdr Hunt. I had a chance to see this in theaters, but it was not an opportune time for me to see it. And also, it was a double feature with the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz movie, and I've not seen any of Wing except for probably brief bits of it when it aired on Toonami, so I wasn't going to spend money on a double feature. But let's see. I don't think this is like a sequel to IBO. I think it's just some weird spin-off that for some reason uses the same character design as one similar to Mikazuki's kid at the end of IBO Season 2. Spoilers. Fuck it, let's see what it's about.
Okay, yeah, that was exactly as much of a disorganized clusterfuck as I was expecting. What? Jesus. I got like 8.5 minutes, I think, into Gundam IBO Urdr Hunt. I think that's how it's pronounced. It didn't sound like how it was pronounced by the character, but it doesn't fucking matter because this sucks. Also, I think in the last segment, I accidentally referred to Tekaran as Teketsu because I had completely forgotten what the name of the organization was since it's been 10 years since I've watched IBO. If you somehow skipped that segment to get to this one, go back and watch that segment because it's going to be a lot more enjoyable because I'm just going to tell you that this is dog shit. It looks sort of like IBO. but the designs are way worse. One of them is vaguely racist. It's just not, and it also really doesn't seem to have any connection at all to the story of IBO, other than it takes place on the post-disaster timeline, I think. Because, like, I had to do some research to figure this out. I believe IBO seasons 1 and 2 take place, like, roughly around PD 300, like post-disaster 300, maybe like 301, 302, somewhere around there. And this movie takes place in PD 323, so about 20 years after season 2 of IBO, which would make Mikazuki's and Atra's son from that series about 20 years old now, I guess, in this sense. But that doesn't matter, because they just vaguely changed his design and he doesn't show up. Well, I don't know if he shows up in this, but new main character is completely unrelated to him, but kind of looks like Mikazuki and has the blonde hair like the kid, but it's not him. So whatever. He's just like a rich kid, and boy, you can really tell that this is just pieced together short episodes from a mobile game. Both in the sense of it's really jarring from scene to scene. Like, there's really not a logical flow to a lot of it, and also there's just chunks of information missing. Like, he fights. Also, I do know that this is in the timeline of post-disaster, because one of the characters does mention Tekaran by name, because he wants to be like them. But in any case, so main character is fighting the kid who wants to be like Tekaran, and like he's fighting him, and they have a battle, and then it cuts to that kid going like, "Thanks for saving me back there. I owe you one." I'm like, what happened? What happened? We didn't see how that resolved. Why would you just cut to... Huh? And there's, like, a lot of instances of that. So, I can already tell this is going to be infuriating. I don't care if it's only just over an hour long. No. Not dealing with that.
Okay, no, not having that. Urdr Hunt off the list, which brings us to the last show of the spring season, Hat Atelier. If you've been keeping track so far, I mentioned that I had 5 anime on this list that were based on manga that I had previously dropped, and this is the last one on the list. I think I read about 2 volumes of it, and I didn't hate it. I was just not wowed by it, and this was like years and years ago. I think there might have been only like 4 or 5 volumes out in the U.S. by the when I first started reading it. But this anime adaptation been looking real good. It's a Bug Films show. Haven't heard that it crashed and burned like Zom 100, so let's see if they can make the magic happen.
Alright, last pick of the spring season is a winner. Just finished up Hat Atelier. I knew that a second season was announced already, but I didn't know that it was going to be on that much of a cliffhanger. Boy, that was something. Yeah, so this is a just straightforward magic fantasy series for an adaptation of a manga that I didn't particularly care for when I first read it way back. I checked the the print date on my copy of Volume 2, and it was 2019. So probably around that time, so like 2020, 2019 was when I first tried this out. So it's been a hot minute. And I got up through the dragon fight, I believe, in the manga. Somewhere around there, I think. So anime definitely goes well past that point. And I think I understand why at the time I probably didn't vibe with the manga that much, because the story, like the overall structure of the story and the tropes that it employs and like the basic building blocks of it all are very basic and very tried and true, which is a charitable way of me saying it hits a lot of beats that you are already familiar with in the order that you already know those things to come in. Like, girl with no magic accidentally stumbles upon big magic, gets incorporated into the magical world as an outsider, works through her vibrant personality and her not illogical, unconventional way in which she approaches magic. She gets better at magic and she grows closer to those around her. Evil organization working in the background. Teacher character who has something hidden, has some hidden agenda. You've seen a lot of this before. In fact, I think a few of those things that I just described also apply to Historia in a certain sense. So this, for at least for this first season, the overall plot structure and the characters are not going to blow you away. They're not bad. They're solid on their own, but nothing about this show from that standpoint really stands out. This is a story you absolutely have seen before. What makes this one unique, I would say, is its world building, the immense amount of detail in its world building, and the themes that it focuses on, and also, I guess, the aesthetic as well. This is a very, very meticulously crafted magical world. It is not our world. Conveniently, the map looks a little bit like Great Britain, or the Isle of Britain, I should say. But it is definitely not Britain. It is its own world with its own cultures and own ecosystem and own history that is very well detailed and well documented and well explained to the audience. Like, even the magic system itself, first of all, the idea of anybody can use magic, you just need conjuring ink and a pen to draw. But the structure the structure of the spells, like the circles and all of the runes and stuff, is immensely detailed. Like, I have seen people, like, this is such a well realized magic system that fans of this series are just like making their own spells. I'm sure there's a lot more from that you can derive visually from the manga, because the anime has only covered so much. But like, yes, you really get the sense that this is an incredibly well thought out world. And because the characters are mostly frictionless, not frictionless is the wrong word, but because the characters are likable enough in the right ways, it allows this magic system to really thrive and stand out. But before we move on from that, I should say that like the characters are still good characters. They are well constructed. Like Coco as the bubbly, wow, magic really is. Magic is so fucking cool. I want to do all of the magic. We have Agot, the initially off-put by Coco for not being good at magic, but eventually grows to enjoy Coco's presence, and also has a chip on her shoulder as someone from an important family who is just turning out to be kind of average. We have Riche with this attitude of like constantly being treated like she is just like every single way that she does magic is wrong, and that she just has to follow everything strictly by the book, thus leading her to completely reject the magic of others and wants to only do the magic that she wants to do because she views it so much as part of her identity. These are very well constructed characters, and a lot of them feed into one of the big central themes of this show as well, which is the idea of how adults teach children, how they interact with children, and how they very often look down on them, mentally and emotionally imprison them, lock them into a very rigid system that they think is right, and therefore the children have to do something that way, stomp out creativity that they don't view as correct. Themes that I very much enjoy seeing, actually. Like, I really like the idea of how different generations interact with each other, especially with a generation that is still growing and learning, and how that the previous generation can affect the upcoming one in different ways. That is a theme that I very much like seeing, and I think it's done really well here in Witch Hat. I lost my train of thought for a second. But yes, so solid, decently solid characters, strong theming. Magic World is really fucking good, and it's visually portrayed very well as well. This is a Bug Films series, best known as the studio that kind of collapsed under the weight of Zom 100. Not properly planned production, most likely, and it seems that they very much learned their lesson with Witch Hat. This is an incredibly solid production, really strong character designs, great color design. Everything just pops and is really solid looking. The darkness, the use of darkness and the shadows and the way that that worms its way into the visual DNA of this series is incredible to look at. It's very just enrapturing and evocative. This is a very fun series to look at for pretty much every cinematic thing you can think of. Like, the more abstract imagery is really solid. The cinematography is generally very strong. Occasionally the framing's a little flat for my liking, but otherwise very solid. Damn it, I was supposed to look up who the composer was for the music for this, because it's pretty solid music as well, but I forgot to look up who it is. I'm sure I'll find out later. But, yeah, this... Honestly, I really don't have much else to say other than that. Oh, some of the voice acting bugs me a little bit. Like, Coco's voice actor, whose name I forgot, she sounds a little bit like they were trying to recapture the magic of younger, what's her name? A younger Saori Hayami, but with like a little bit more of a bubbly, ganky slant to it. And sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Sometimes it stacks out a little bit. And then Tetia's voice actress really leans into the genki, and sometimes it comes across as like a little overly sweet and saccharine. But other than that, really solid voice acting all around. Agot's voice actress is really solid. Yeah, this was pretty solid. I'm looking forward to seeing... Oh, right, and the history of this as well. Like, we have this... a magic society built on the fact that the witches forced people to forget how magic works in order to prevent massive disasters. But then we have the brimmed hats, this sort of rebel outsider group trying to bring magic back to the forefront with forbidden spells and stuff. And so we have this sort of the clash of ideals of like the brimmed hats being like, all magic should be on the table, and then the pointed hats, I guess as they were, being like, all of these, so all spells, every single spell of this type, like let's say any spell that affects the body, is too dangerous to you for anyone to use, period. So we are just locking those the fuck away. And so there's obviously going to be an ideological battle that comes up there. We'll see how that goes as the series is fleshed out. But yes, very much enjoyed this. It didn't blow me away, really, especially with like the overall story structure of it all. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Alright, Witch Hat Atelier is complete. And we're going to put you... Yeah, we're going to put you in the number 11 spot. Oh, no, don't do that. And you're getting a light 8. It's a solid, really solid start to what could be a very strong fantasy series. A little too by the books in terms of the narrative and structure and stuff, but a lot of room to grow, and it's a lot of fun. And that brings us to the end of the spring seasonals. Before we close out, our expected minimum was 12 and expected maximum was 21 for this season. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, kind of like right in the middle of those two numbers. 16 finishes. Let's see, how is this divided up? We got 1, 2, 3, like, so 3 of them were like shorts or single episode OVAs, and then 1, 2 of them were films. No, 3 of them were wait, can I count? Yeah, 2 of them were films, and so then the rest, so 11 of them were TV series. So 11 TV series, that's pretty solid. So yeah, that's all I have for the spring season. However, there's still much more to the year. We got our summer season already lined up here. No clue if all of these are finishing in the summer, but we'll have to wait a few months for that. Until then, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.